So last time we were talking about uh, uh, degrees of freedom of different systems. And in particular, we talked about a particle that is constrained to move on a given smooth surface. Okay, let's pursue that example further. And let's say that we give the surface, okay, we specify the surface on which the particle is constrained to move. And there may be other forces which are acting on it. So it might be getting pulled gravitationally or electromagnetically by some other things, but it always has to live on that surface. Okay, and we'll investigate this in some detail. So let's go to, okay, so a particle constrained to move on a surface. Okay, and let's say the equation that describes the surface is given by this relation f x y z equals to 0. Okay, so that's the surface. This is one equation. So the particle has, a free particle has 3 degrees of freedom, and because of this one equation it will have 2, because 3 minus 1 is 2. So you have 2 degrees of freedom for this system, for this particle, and that's the equation. So let's say in some time interval dt, the particle gets displaced by an amount dr. Okay, so in some interval dt, it gets displaced by dr. Okay, and the displacement has to be on the surface. Now, how are the displacements dx, dy, and dz? How are they constrained? So they have to be related to each other so that the particle stays on the surface, right? So to find that, how they are related to each other, we can write phi. So this is telling that whatever that particle does, wherever it goes, its coordinates at every point of time t should satisfy this. Okay, which means if I take a total time derivative of this, that has to be 0. So d phi, let me use the same kind of phi as before, d phi over dt should be 0, or even more simply, let's say d phi is 0. Okay, that has to hold true. Now d phi is the following. So you take the partial derivative of phi with respect to x into dx plus partial derivative of phi with respect to y dy plus del phi over del z into dz. Okay, this has to be 0. Now this you can write as gradient of phi dot dr. Okay, what are the components of dr? Dx, dy, and dz. These are the components. So that's what your dr is. And gradient of phi, the components are del phi over del x, del phi over del phi y, and del phi over del z. And this entire thing should be equal to 0. Okay, because of this. That's good. Now let's ask, what are the forces that are acting on the particle due to the constraint, due to the surface? So if the particle is constrained on the surface and the surface is smooth, the force on it can only be in the direction normal to the surface. Okay, I hope that's clear. See, the surface is smooth. There's no, it's smooth, so there is nothing which can give a force in the horizontal direction, or let's say in the tangential direction, tangential to the surface. Okay, that cannot happen. That is what you mean by smooth, right? If something is not smooth, then it can give you a force which is along the surface. okay, tangential to the surface. If it is smooth, it cannot. So whatever that force is, let's call it F prime, okay. So F prime, force due to the surface, okay, that's the constraint force. That F prime will be proportional to gradient of phi, okay, because gradient gives the direction normal to the surface, and F prime is normal to the surface, so there will be some constant k involved, proportionality constant involved in here, and this will be the relation between the force and the gradient of phi. That's good. Now from here I can immediately see that this result which we found earlier tells us something about the nature of the force of constraint. Okay, so what we do is we put this thing, this equation in here, in this one, okay, and we immediately see that F prime dot dr is equal to 0. Okay, what's F prime dot dr? That's the work done by the force of constraint in moving the particle by amount dr, okay, and we see that that work turns out to be 0. Okay, so this is one thing we have noticed about the force of constraint. That's nice. Note, however, that the phi here, okay, didn't involve time explicitly. There was no explicit dependence on time in here, okay, meaning I'm imagining a surface that does not change over time. Let's relax that condition and say that the surface is changing with time, okay. You can imagine, for example, a particle which is sitting on the floor of the lift, okay, and the lift is going up or down, whatever. Let's say it's going up with some velocity v. Now this surface on which the particle is lying is not staying put here, but it is going up, okay. So there is an explicit time dependence, okay, it has to move with velocity v, and let's see in that case what happens, okay. So we go to the next page, and here so I want to put time dependent constraint. And in fact the time dependence is explicit, not implicit, okay. So here let's say I have a surface which is given by this relation, okay. So some phi which depends on time as well, and let's ask can I say something similar, or something similar about the work done which we saw in the last page. I mean, why I'm interested in the work done, we'll come to that later, not today in this video, but let's for the moment just ask what is the work done by the force of constraint when there is an explicit time dependence, okay. So as before, I just write down d phi. So let's say again in time dt my particle moves or gets displaced by amount dr, okay. Then d phi would be del phi over del x dx plus del phi over del y dy plus del phi over del z dz plus, now there is time dependence as well, del phi over del t dt. This term was not there earlier, okay. This, as before, is gradient of phi dot dr plus delta phi over delta t into dt, and which will be 0, okay. D phi is 0 because the particle is constrained on that surface. From this I can write down gradient of phi dot dr equals minus del phi over del t into dt. Now in this case also, the force will be normal to the surface, which means it will be proportional to gradient of phi. Okay, so imagine your lift is going upwards, the particle is constrained to move on the surface, it's going somewhere, okay, it's getting displaced with time, but whatever happens, the forces are always perpendicular to the surface. Okay, so again my f prime would be proportional to the gradient of phi. Some k times gradient of phi. If I substitute this in here, in this relation, I get f prime dot dr equals, so I have gradient phi to be f prime over k, so there is a k in this denominator which I take to the other side, and it becomes minus k del phi over del t dt. Let's see if it is okay. It is f prime over k is gradient phi, that's correct. So now in the present case, this is the work done. So when particle goes from wherever it was to the other location in time interval dt, okay, that's the displacement dr. The work done by the force is not zero. Okay, it's a non-zero force because there is a non-zero right hand side. Okay, which is not surprising if you think of this example of the lift. When the lift floor is going up, okay, that particle is going upwards. So some work is being done because of the force of constraint. Okay. Now there is something you can see, for some reason, which will come to you later. For some reason, I am interested in getting the work done to be zero. I am interested in those forces where the work done will be zero. But clearly this is not the case here. But notice, if I start looking at not the actual displacements which happen over time interval dt. Okay, so this is, let me be more clear, this is the actual displacement. Okay, now I want to imagine another kind of displacement. I want to look at a displacement that happens. Okay, let me put it differently. Okay, imagine a displacement at a fixed time. So you have to imagine a particular time, and on that time itself you have to imagine a displacement. So let me write down. So I am thinking of a virtual displacement, because all actual real displacements will happen in time. Okay, but now I'm interested in something which happens at the same time. So I'm talking about a virtual displacement. I will denote it by delta r to distinguish it from dr. Okay, and that virtual displacements dr happens at a given instant. Now if you are hearing this for the first time, this might be very confusing, because I'm asking you to imagine a displacement which happens at a given instant, but the moment you start imagining it, your brain will trick you, and because it knows all the displacements happen in time, you will always start thinking something changing with time. So if that is happening to you, don't worry, you don't have to imagine it really. All you have to do is think mathematically, put the time interval dt to be 0, because I am saying that displacement, virtual displacement, has to happen at the same time. Okay, and denote the displacement by delta r. Okay, so imagine your lift is here at time t, and what are the displacements that can happen at that time? It can happen on the surface of the lift, right? But any real displacement will not happen on the surface with the same same value of z, right? Because in any finite interval of time or even infinitesimal interval of time, this particle will have some displacement along the z direction as well, right? That will be the case for the real displacement, but I am talking about the virtual one, and the displacement will be on the surface. So the real displacement and the virtual displacements are very different, okay? But don't worry about imagining it. Just put dt to 0 and think of a displacement which is allowed at that time, okay? So that's what we are talking about. Now this relation then becomes f prime dot delta r equals 0, okay? Okay, I should not have cut it. That's the relation. So this says that under the virtual displacement, f prime does 0 work, okay? Now it's clear that not all forces will give you 0 virtual work. So let's call this work as virtual work. Not everything will give you 0 virtual work. If your surface was not smooth, if it had friction, then whatever displacement you imagine from here to there, even at a given at one instant, because of the friction there will be a horizontal component, right, to f prime, and you will get a non-zero work in going from here to there, okay? So not all forces will give you 0 virtual work, but what we are interested in is the force which will give us 0 virtual work, okay? Let's see what else I wanted to say in this one. Okay. So what we have, just to summarize, we can divide the forces of constraints into two varieties. One which do 0 virtual work, and another which do some virtual work. Okay. Very good. So right now it's not clear why I'm talking about those things and why should that be important. But as you'll see, this will be very useful, and we'll try to get equations of motion using the concept of virtual work, okay? And as I mentioned, friction is out if you want the virtual work to be 0. And now onwards, we would be only interested in those kinds of constraints which give the virtual work to be 0, okay? So in this course, we will not have those constant forces for which virtual work is not 0. So we'll talk more about such things in the next video. See you then.